Chapter 51 Draco, Today is really not in vain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After cloaking Abe in invisibility, Harry and the others headed out of the auditorium. They checked their surroundings, making sure nobody was watching, then made a beeline for Hagrid's hut. But as soon as they stepped outside the castle, Draco and his goons spotted them. "Where do you think you're going?" Draco said, blocking their path with a smirk. "Dorms the other way." "Mind your own business," Ron snapped, shoving past Draco. Harry and Hermione, looking a little guilty, hurried after him. "Rude," Crabbe grumbled. Draco scowled. Usually, he'd jump at the chance to rough up Weasley, but he'd learned a bit of self-control lately. Weasley could be a slob, but Malfoy couldn't. "What are they doing outside the castle this late?" Goyle wondered. "Curfew's almost here." "What do you think?" Draco scoffed. "That oaf Hagrid is their pal. Where else would they go?" Then, a strange look crossed Draco's face. "Hang on, why sneak out there at night?" "Maybe they're just hanging out, reminiscing," Crabbe suggested, figuring Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Hagrid were close. "Nah," Draco said, starting to pace. "If it was just a friendly visit, they wouldn't risk getting caught. Curfew's close. And they were acting shifty, like they were up to something. Plus, I didn't see Abe anywhere. Aaron probably foisted his cat off on Granger. Something's up, definitely." Crabbe asked hesitantly, "Should we follow them and see what they're doing?" "Don't be ridiculous, curfew's practically here," Goyle whined. "We need to get back to bed." "What if we get caught?" "We'll get back before curfew," Draco said meaningfully. "Just gotta hustle." Crabbe and Goyle exchanged glances and nodded reluctantly, knowing where they were going. Draco and his crew weren't in a rush. They strolled casually toward Hagrid's hut. Meanwhile, Harry and the others practically sprinted to Hagrid's, breathless when they arrived. Asterisk bang. Bang. Bang, star, they pounded on the wooden door. A few seconds later, Hagrid opened up. Seeing Harry and his friends, he looked a little helpless. "Hey. Sorry, folks, can't hang out today, got stuff to do." Hagrid started to close the door, but Harry whipped out the invisible Abe. "We thought you might want this." Hagrid's eyes widened. He gazed at the sleeping white cat with interest. "You really did it, eh?" "I think you owe us an invite," Ron said playfully. "Of course, come on in." They stepped inside the hut. The temperature was sweltering. "It's spring already, why is the fire blazing?" Hermione asked, confused. "Doesn't matter," Hagrid said, busily making tea. He reached out to scoop up the sleeping Abe with his massive hand. "Hold on." Harry stopped him. "We brought the cat. Now tell us who else helped set up the traps to protect the Sorcerer's Stone." Fair enough, I'm a man of my word, but you can't tell anyone, and especially can't say I told you," Hagrid said, ticking off his fingers. "Dumbledore, of course. He borrowed Fluffy from me, put a spell on him too. Then there's Professor Snape, Professor McGonagall, Professor Sprout, Professor Flitwick, and, oh yeah, Professor Quirrell. That's it. Now, about Abe, can I get a peek?" Hermione carefully placed the cat on the table. "Just so we're clear, you can look and touch, but you can't hurt him." "Don't worry, I'd never hurt an animal," Hagrid said seriously. "I just want to figure out what kind of creature Abe is." Unbeknownst to Hagrid, Draco and his goons had just arrived outside the hut. They exchanged shocked glances, overhearing the conversation. "This is our lucky day," Draco said, smirking. "I thought Granger and Aaron were best buds. Guess you can't trust anyone." "Total betrayal," Crabbe said, his round face twisting with anger. "Typical. Hang out with Weasley and Harry Potter long enough, and you're bound to turn bad," Draco said, waving his hand dismissively. He lowered his voice. "The main thing now is to get Aaron here. We gotta catch them red-handed, or they'll deny everything. I'll stay here and protect Abe if things get dicey. You two go fetch him. But curfew's almost here, Goyle hesitated. We'll never make it back in time. Dumbass. Draco snapped. Filch is the only one patrolling Hogwarts at night. As long as he doesn't catch us, we're fine. Besides, I'm a Malfoy. He won't do anything to me. Maybe dock a few points, tops. Now hurry, before it's too late. Draco's tone left no room for argument. Crabbe and Goyle, already disgusted by Harry and his friends, quietly crept away from Hagrid's hut and took off toward the castle at a speed they usually couldn't manage. Draco was surprised. He almost wondered if these two were always loafing on him. This was a speed those fatties could actually show. A strange sound coming from inside the hut caught Draco's attention. Ding. Ding. Ding, the sound of pot lids clanging together rang out. Hagrid jumped up, Harry, Ron, and Hermione looked behind Hagrid. A pot was rattling over the blazing fire. Hagrid, wearing thick gloves, pulled a burnt egg out of the pot. It was huge and hot. Even with gloves, Hagrid could feel the heat and quickly placed it on the table. Nobody noticed that Abe, who had been sleeping soundly, suddenly twitched his nose, as if he smelled something delicious. Slowly, he opened his sleepy eyes. Hagrid, what is that? Harry asked curiously. That's I know what that is, Ron said, his face turning pale. But Hagrid, how did you get it? I won it off some bloke, Hagrid said, averting his eyes. Don't know why, but he seemed real keen to lose. As soon as he finished speaking, a black crack appeared on the surface of the eggshell. The egg shook violently, and white steam poured out of the crack. Everyone inside, plus Draco outside the window, held their breath, watching the scene unfold. Seconds later, the eggshell shattered, and the fragments of the upper part shot out in all directions. Luckily, nobody surrounding the egg was hit by the hot pieces. A black claw poked out from the lower part of the eggshell, with a thorny wing attached. The wing waved gently, sweeping away most of the egg fragments on the table. A small, black dragon emerged in front of them. It wasn't much to look at, its head no bigger than a fist. It was wet from hatching, and long strings of mucus hung from its mouth. But it seemed full of life, stretching its limbs on the table. Is that a dragon? Hermione asked Hagrid in astonishment. She knew dragons existed in the wizarding world and had read about them in books, but to see a real dragon in front of her was something else. She was excited, surprised, and utterly bewildered. Not just any dragon, it's a Norwegian ridgeback, Ron said confidently. My brother Charlie studies dragons in Romania. He's beautiful, ain't he? Hagrid smiled, gently stroking the dragon's head with his finger. Look at the little fella, he thinks I'm his mama. Right, Norbert? Hagrid had just named the dragon when Norbert sneezed, and a ball of dragon flames erupted from his nose, singeing a large patch of Hagrid's thick beard. Chapter 52 Accidentally Turn the Head of a Magical Animal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hagrid kept patting his beard, trying to put out the sparks. The dragon fire was a bit of a surprise, but Hagrid's eyes were still full of love as he looked at Norbert. He still needs some training, of course. Norbert coughed, and black smoke mixed with sparks puffed from his mouth. Click. Click. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed in the hut. What's that? Hermione frowned. Hagrid, what other creatures are you hiding? None, I swear, none. I'd love to raise more, but Hogwarts won't allow it. Besides, hatching Norbert just about did me in. But what's with the clicking? Ron asked, confused. Sounds like an eggshell cracking, over and over. I think I know what it is. Harry pointed to the other side of the table, surprised. Abe, awake now, was munching on a piece of broken eggshell, chewing slowly and clearly enjoying it. The quality of these shells was awful for Abe. Barely any magic, and no real nutrition, but hey, even a little something is something. Baby dragon eggshells were a decent snack for a growing magical animal, crunchy, tasted like chicken. What? Hermione's eyes widened. Didn't you say it was foolproof? What's going on? How should I know? Ron was also surprised but said, our plan should have worked. Ask Harry. Even if I messed up, he was our backup. Harry pulled a small purple bottle onto the table and gave Hagrid a look of complaint. Hagrid, did you give him expired sleeping potion? Impossible. Hagrid picked up the vial, explaining, I never mess around when it comes to animal meds, there's no expired stuff in my cabin. Maybe you didn't give him enough. That they looked at each other. They almost wished they'd made a mistake that dumb, but the opposite was true. Hagrid, these two gave Abe 6 drops of sleeping potion. If that's not enough, I don't know what is. We can't exactly pour the whole bottle down him. 6 drops. Hagrid stared at Harry and Ron, who were looking at their feet. Are you out of your minds? 1 drop could knock out a lion, a tiger, even an elephant. 5 drops would have Norbert napping. You gave 6 drops to a cat. You think he's tougher than a dragon? Actually, it was an accident, Harry said weakly. Besides, Abe's doing just fine. Hagrid blinked, turned to look at Abe munching on the eggshell, then examined the purple vial carefully. He was stumped. This can't be. Ron was relieved. I told you. The sleeping potion must be bad. Don't talk nonsense. This stuff cost me a fortune, and it's good for 3 more years. Then how do you explain this? Not even a cat can handle it. I think you got ripped off, Hagrid. I can't be wrong. Hagrid shook his head, a light in his eyes. There's only one explanation. Abe's not a cat. I suspected it, but now I'm sure. Abe's a magical animal, and a powerful one, even more than dragons or phoenixes. Gulp. Harry, Ron, and Hermione all swallowed hard. They thought they were stealing a cat. No big deal. Just a harmless prank, as long as they weren't caught. Now the tables had turned. They'd abducted a magical animal. This was way too much. If the folks at the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures found out, no, counting Hagrid, all 4 of them might be invited to the Ministry of Magic for a little chat. Draco, outside the hut, was also in shock. He was almost glad he'd risked being caught by Filch tonight. Catching Granger betraying them would have been great, but who knew he'd see a dragon egg hatch? A bonus, buy 1, get 1 free. Nabbing all 4 Gryffindors was worth it, even if he, Draco Malfoy, got caught by Filch. And now, this Easter egg. Abe wasn't a cat, but a magical animal on par with dragons and phoenixes. Makes sense, though. Abe never acted like a cat. Too smart, too cute, too human. If a cat like that was for sale, he'd buy it in a heartbeat. Hope Crab and Goyle hurry up. This show is exciting, but Aaron's absence is a bummer. Back inside, Ron stuttered, Hagrid, are you kidding? Kidding. Hagrid smiled knowingly. Ever seen a cat eat eggshells? Dragon eggshells. At that, Ron's face fell. He couldn't deny the evidence. What do we do now? Harry asked. It's a magical creature, not just a cat. Still gonna watch it, Hagrid? Of course, we have to keep an eye on him. Abe might be a totally new magical animal, never seen before. Observing him is crucial. But Abe's awake now, we can't just grab him. Hermione worried. What if we hurt him? How do I explain that to Aaron? Hermione, Hagrid said patiently. I see magical animals as my friends, and I promise I won't hurt him. He stood, picked up his umbrella wand, and carefully approached Abe, not even noticing Norbert waiting for food on the table. But Hermione blocked his path, arms spread. She tilted her chin up. No, I can't let you do that. Why not? I brought Abe here, and it's my job to protect him. Hagrid hesitated, then scratched his head with a smile. I don't want to hurt him either, Hermione. I'm just curious about Abe. You know how much I love magical creatures. I just want to take a closer look. Okay. I don't know. Don't forget, you promised, if you can't talk, it doesn't count. Hermione bit her lip, feeling conflicted and regretting getting on Harry and Ron's crazy train. Hagrid had told them about the people involved in protecting the Philosopher's Stone, and they had to return the favor and meet his conditions, no problem, normally. Hagrid was a simple, honest giant, a good friend. He was trustworthy, but Abe's identity complicated things. With Hagrid's love for magical animals, who knew what he'd do? He was already breaking school rules, secretly raising a Norwegian Ridgeback. If he messed up, he might go straight to Aaron, and everything would fall apart. There would be a rift in their friendship. Sensing Hermione's dilemma, Hagrid turned to Harry and Ron, hoping the two Gryffindors would help, but they were both staring at the ceiling, pretending to see nothing. They might not like studying, but they weren't dumb. This was a no-win situation. The best option was to stay out of it. Fine. Hermione, Hagrid put down his umbrella. I love magical creatures, but you're one of my favorite Gryffindors. If you don't want me to, I won't push it. Thank you. Hermione sighed in relief, then looked at Hagrid, ashamed. I'm sorry, I got your hopes up for nothing. Hagrid smiled. No need to apologize, I'm already lucky tonight. Norbert hatched, and we know Abe's a magical animal. I'll try to talk to Aaron later if I want a closer look. You'll have to help me out. I will, but Abe's really important to Aaron, so I can't promise anything. There'll always be a chance. Aaron's at Hogwarts for 7 years. Hagrid looked longingly at Abe, who was heading for another eggshell. Let's check on Norbert first. Chapter 53 The Meeting of Two Young Dragons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hagrid was cooing at baby Norbert, but kept glancing at Abe, who was happily munching on the eggshell. He really wanted Abe to come closer so he could get a better look, maybe even touch it. But with Hermione watching him like a hawk, it was just wishful thinking. Harry and Ron were fascinated by Norbert. Unlike Hagrid, they'd been trying to sneak Abby the cat away all week. They'd already had their fill of Hagrid's close inspection and handling. Norbert, the Norwegian Ridgeback, was much more exciting. Abe might be some unknown creature, but it couldn't possibly top a dragon. Meanwhile, Crabbe and Goyle finally stumbled into the Slytherin common room. Pure blood, they gave the password and hurried inside. They rushed straight into the dormitory. Aaron, something huge happened. Massive. Crabbe gasped. What is it? Aaron asked calmly. Where's Draco? Curfew's on. Why isn't he with you? He told us to come get you, Goyle wheezed. No time to explain. Come on. Calm down. What happened? Goyle, tell me. Harry Potter, Ron, and Hermione, they. What about them? They took Abe to Hagrid's. What? Aaron's heart leaped. He shot out of bed. Are you sure you saw right? Positive. One of us could be wrong, but not all three, Crabbe insisted. That sneaky witch. I wondered why Hermione wanted to borrow Abby. It was a setup. And Hagrid, you big oaf, pulling a stunt like this. I totally misjudged you. We wouldn't have believed it if we hadn't seen it ourselves, Crabbe said. Aaron, you gotta go now. I'm on it. You two stay put, got it? Don't follow me. But. No buts. Just listen. I'll explain to Draco. Aaron's tone left no room for argument. He figured Abe's secret was about to be blown. Best to minimize the damage, the fewer who knew, the better. Crabbe and Goyle exchanged glances and nodded, secretly relieved. A quick sprint was one thing, but another run would probably leave them collapsing halfway. Aaron threw on some clothes, grabbing a spare pet carrier from the closet just in case. Bursting out of the Slytherin common room, he raced towards the Forbidden Forest. Please don't let me be too late, you dumb dragon, please keep your clothes on. Unbeknownst to him, Mrs. Norris emerged from the shadows moments after he left. Her cat eyes gleamed as she watched his figure disappear into the moonlight. Click. Click. 10 minutes later, Abe finished off the last bits of eggshell scattered around Hagrid's hut. It patted its tummy, feeling about 80% full. It looked around, briefly acknowledging Hagrid, Harry, and Ron, before settling on the little girl its owner wanted it to stay with. It padded over and jumped into Hermione's arms, ignoring Hagrid's longing gaze. "Come here." Hermione smiled, holding Abe tightly. "Hermione," Hagrid said sheepishly, "Abe seems pretty chill." "Think I could, you know." "I don't think so. Abe doesn't like strangers touching it when it's awake." "She's right, Hagrid," Harry chimed in. "We've been feeding it for days, and it still bares its teeth if we get too close. Wouldn't recommend it. Don't want you getting bit." "Ha! Not scared of that," Hagrid scoffed, holding out a finger to Norbert. The next moment, Norbert chomped down on his finger. Hagrid barely flinched. He was a giant, thick-skinned, and tough. A bite from a baby dragon less than an hour old might sting a kid, but it was just an itch to him. "See? Abe's teeth can't be sharper than a dragon's." But after just 3 seconds of showing off, Norbert coughed, and a small burst of flames shot from its mouth, hitting Hagrid's fingers head-on. "Ow!" Hagrid yelped, shoving his fingers into a glass of water. He looked up to find 3 pairs of amused eyes staring back at him. "Okay, bad example," he chuckled. "Just demonstrating, for educational purposes, that you should never put your body parts in front of a dragon's mouth unless you're absolutely sure." The 3 of them burst out laughing. Hermione hugged Abe a little tighter. "Hagrid, control yourself. I don't want Abe biting you if you force it. It's fine. Besides, Abe can't breathe fire, so it's not as dangerous. How about this? I'll try once, and if it doesn't like it, I'll back off, promise." "Okay," Hermione agreed hesitantly. She didn't really want to, but knew Hagrid wouldn't give up. Hagrid beamed, his huge hand reaching out towards Abe, a mix of nervousness, excitement, and anticipation on his face, but Abe didn't even acknowledge him. Just as Hagrid's hand was about to make contact, it leaped from Hermione's arms onto the table, neatly dodging the giant's grasp. "Okay." Hagrid threw up his hands. First contact failed. Hermione smiled. But as she reached for Abe, she noticed the little guy staring intently at Norbert. "Stop. That's a dragon. Don't get too close. Careful of dragon breath." Abe ignored her warning and walked straight towards Norbert, stopping about 8 inches away. The 2 creatures stared at each other. Norbert twitched his head, sensing something in his blood. The creature in front of him was also a dragon. Abe looked at Norbert with curiosity. It was the first time it had seen another dragon. So different from the pictures in the book. A living, breathing member of its own kind, but after a moment, a look of distaste flickered across its face. This dragon wasn't nearly as good-looking as he was. "Harry, did I imagine that just now?" Ron rubbed his eyes. "Did Abe just look down his nose at Norbert?" "I saw it too. It was weird. Like Draco looking at us." "Impossible." Hagrid protested. "This is a historic meeting between 2 magical animal cubs. Sacred. You must have imagined it. Don't worry about it so much, separate them. Abe's right in front of Norbert's mouth, it's too dangerous." "It's okay, Hermione. They're just cubs. They're probably just curious. Nothing'll happen," Hagrid said calmly. Fights between magical creatures were rare, only adults used fighting to compete for food, territory, or mates. Unless they were natural enemies, cubs usually didn't have conflicts. Seeing Hagrid's confidence, Hermione relaxed a little. Hagrid was the groundskeeper and often interacted with creatures in the Forbidden Forest. In this case, he was the expert. Abe, after a brief, disdainful glance at Norbert, started to turn away. But then it spotted a few more pieces of eggshell on the table. Its eyes lit up, it slowly moved behind Norbert, lowered its head, and snatched up a piece, click. The clear, crisp sound hung in the air like a declaration of war. Everyone held their breath. Hagrid, Harry swallowed nervously, eyes glued to the two animals on the table. I don't know much, but I know this, that has to be a provocation. Well. Hagrid nodded hesitantly. Yeah, looks like it. Should we be worried? Ron asked, his mouth twitching. I don't know. This is my first time raising a dragon. The book doesn't say anything about what happens when a baby dragon gets provoked. Everyone stared anxiously at Norbert, hoping the Norwegian Ridgeback was the bigger person, but Norbert was a dragon. Even a newborn knew the importance of dragon dignity. Chewing on its shell in front of it was like rubbing its face in the dirt. No dragon could tolerate that. Norbert raised his head slightly, and a red glow began to appear in its throat, growing darker and darker. No. Separate them now. Hagrid shouted. Chapter 54 Let Them Fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hagrid's warning came a beat too late. Almost before the words left his mouth, a blast of dragon fire, radiating pure destruction, shot towards Abe as everyone watched in horror. Panic surged through the room. They were doomed. If Aaron found out Abe was hurt, they'd be in serious trouble. But then, something completely unexpected happened that made everyone's hearts leap into their throats. Abe, still munching on his eggshell, felt the intense heat behind him. He ducked instinctively, and the dragon fire sailed harmlessly over his head. A ball of fire whizzed by. Abe, confused, patted the hat on his head with his paw, found a singed spot, and instantly went ballistic. His owner's mom had made that hat especially for him. It was one of the few items with a seamless stretching charm on it, and it was his favorite. All his savings and almost all his treats were stashed in that hat. It was a disaster if it was burnt. Crack, star. Abe bit down on the eggshell in his mouth, spun around, glared at Norbert, who had wisps of black smoke curling from his mouth, and let out a roar that was definitely not a meow. Roar. A wave of subtle power washed across the table, and Norbert involuntarily took a step back, but he quickly recovered and stubbornly stepped forward again. So what if the other guy was a little bigger? Norbert was a Norwegian Ridgeback, a carnivorous fire-breathing dragon, not some grass-munching herbivore. A cute face wasn't going to scare him. He refused to believe he couldn't win. Holy crap. I knew it. That's no ordinary cat, Ron blurted out. Now's not the time. Separate them, now, before things get out of hand. Hagrid yelled, grabbing his umbrella and whacking Abe to try and stun him. At the same time, Hermione fired off a curse at Norbert. Norbert stumbled for a second, then righted himself. The curse barely stung him. Fire Dragon's skin was pretty resistant to stunning spells, especially right after birth, and Hermione was just a first-year student, a baby wizard herself. Her spells were less threatening than a slap from Hagrid's hand. If Norbert's reaction was lackluster, Abe's was insane. The red curse struck him, and for a split second, a layer of shining white scales appeared under his fur, completely deflecting the spell. What the? Hagrid muttered, bewildered. This doesn't make any sense. He'd held back, sure. He wasn't about to wail on a baby magical creature with everything he had, but even so, Abe should have at least staggered. Instead, it was like nothing happened. It wasn't just Abe's weirdness that was on full display, but also Hagrid's apparent inability to do his job as a groundskeeper. Hermione and Hagrid exchanged glances, ready to cast more spells, but before they could even raise their wands, each of the dragons unleashed a roar that stopped them in their tracks. Abe bared his teeth at Hagrid, issued a clear warning, and then stalked toward Norbert. Unhurried, first things first, he was going to beat up the dragon cub who ruined his hat. Hagrid could wait. He might not be able to take him down right now, but he wouldn't forget the seemingly harmless giant. The fact that he was so big probably meant his owner had used a levitation charm on him while he was still in the egg. No one had ever cast a proper spell on him before. Hagrid, what do we do? Hermione asked, clutching her wand. Not much we can do right now. Norbert's dragon breath probably just made Abe blow a fuse. If they don't get this out of their system, they'll just keep at each other. And I think Abe's got it in for me, Hagrid said grimly. We can't just let them fight, Hermione protested, reaching to scoop Abe up, but Hagrid blocked her with his arm. Best not to interfere. Think of it as a kid's squabble, nothing serious, but if we don't let them sort it out now, who knows what'll happen when these two magical creatures are fully grown. But Nob is a dragon. Abe can't possibly win. Don't be so sure, Hagrid countered with a smile. Norbert's just hatched. Abe's got a definite size advantage, don't worry. I'll step in if things get too hairy. But, you can't let Abe get hurt, understand? I won't be able to face whoever owns him. Hagrid frowned. Protecting Abe could mean turning on Norbert later. He'd planned on raising the little dragon like his own child and didn't want to hurt him, but knowing that he had something to do with the situation escalating to this point, and seeing Hermione's pleading eyes, Hagrid relented. I promise. Thank you. Hermione sighed in relief. By now, Abe had reached Norbert and was towering over the Norwegian ridgeback, glaring down at him. Norbert, naturally, refused to be intimidated and flapped his wings, trying to take off, but Abe struck first. Before Norbert could even get airborne, Abe's white paws came crashing down like a thunderbolt. Wham! The force of the blow nearly knocked Norbert off his feet. He stumbled backwards several steps, his face throbbing with pain. Norbert glared back, furious, and prepared to unleash his dragon breath, but Abe pounced, and with a powerful uppercut, sent Norbert's head tilting back. Breathing fire was impressive, sure, but useless if you couldn't aim it. Abe was a little envious, not jealous. In time, he'd have more skills than he could count, and dragon breath would just be one of them. Whoosh, the blast of dragon fire shot straight at the ceiling, but Norbert was still young. His lung capacity was limited, and the flame sputtered out after barely a foot before dissolving into nothing. Oh my God! Ron exclaimed in disbelief. Nob can't lose. He's a dragon. Is this the time for sports commentary? Harry said incredulously. Hagrid, stop them. Abe's probably fine, but if Norbert keeps this up, we're going to have to put out a fire. Just a bit longer. Norbert's gonna win this, Hagrid said, eyes bright. Dragons were the most dangerous magical creatures. He didn't believe that his fire-breathing dragon couldn't beat some unknown magical animal. Harry rolled his eyes. Hagrid always lost it when it came to magical creatures. If he could intervene, he would have done it already. The battle between the two young dragons continued, but it quickly became a one-sided beatdown. Norbert barely had time to react as Abe rained blows on him. When Norbert's eyes were glazed over, Abe flipped him onto his back, pinned his wings with his hind legs, and then raised his front paws and delivered a final, crushing blow to the head. Boom, Norbert whimpered and collapsed onto the table. With the battle over, Abe strutted victoriously toward Hermione, then turned and shot a contemptuous look at Hagrid as if to say, your dragon's not so tough, is he? Hagrid, seemingly oblivious, went to Norbert, stroking the whimpering baby dragon. Hey! Why'd you pinch me? Ron demanded, glaring at Harry. Relax. Looks like I wasn't dreaming, Harry replied, grinning. But how is that even possible? The Norwegian ridgeback actually lost. Norbert wasn't ready, Hagrid said, trying to find excuses for his dragon. First off, Norbert's just a baby, not even an hour old. Abe's twice his size, so he was bound to have a tough time. Second, they were fighting close quarters, in a confined space. Noble couldn't use his full range. Most importantly, Norbert couldn't fly. He's a dragon. You need the flames and the flying to really be effective. All things being equal, Norbert will win in a fair fight. Makes sense, Ron agreed, nodding. Judging by Abe's size and how much he eats, he must be at least 3 years old. Just when they thought it was over, Norbert suddenly spat out a blast of dragon breath, knocking Abe, who was still celebrating, away. Sneak attacks were dishonorable, but he'd been utterly humiliated. A complete and utter defeat. Dragons were proud creatures. Being born to such a nightmare had to sting. Oh my God! Hagrid stared in disbelief as the white shape went flying. Harry and Ron were also confused. Wasn't it over? What was that about? Was Norbert sore that he'd lost? Abe! Hermione cried in distress, rushing over to check on him. Chapter 55 Switching Combat Mode. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Hermione got closer, she saw Abe was okay, but some of his clothes were burned. It wasn't at all what she expected after a dragon flame attack. She breathed a sigh of relief, but then noticed the burning anger in Abe's eyes. Roar! Abe roared at Norbert, his power magnified this time. His body was changing too. Smooth, white scales appeared on his skin, his claws grew longer, and his teeth sharpened. He was transforming from a cute, harmless creature into a fearsome beast. Gulp. Everyone's eyes widened, and they swallowed hard. Hagrid, you know magical creatures. What kind is this, that can transform? Harry asked, worried. I don't know. Some magical beasts can change, but Abe doesn't fit any of them. And he's just a cub. Fewer still can do this at his age. Hagrid said, his expression turning serious. This isn't good. He's ready to fight, and he's seriously ticked off. What do we do? Ron asked. What else? Stop them. Hagrid said, raising his umbrella to cast a spell on Abe, but Abe, in full battle mode, easily dodged. He ignored Hagrid and darted to the table, slamming Norbert on the head. Whack. Norbert spread his wings and flew just in time. Abe's blow missed, but nobody relaxed. There was a clear claw mark on the table. Hagrid's heart sank. The force of that hit was several times stronger. If it had connected, Norbert would have been seriously injured. Even if he could still fight, he didn't know how to treat dragon concussions and could only hope Norbert would recover. It might sound odd, but it's true. Adult dragons are terrifying with few equals, but newly hatched dragons are fragile and easy to kill, even by regular folks. Abe glared at Norbert, who was hovering above, and made an angry gurgling sound. Norbert didn't care. He could breathe fire, he could fly, he was untouchable. He had nothing to fear. If he didn't use this chance to get even, he'd be ashamed to call himself a dragon. A ball of fire shot from his mouth, hitting the table where Abe stood. The fire spread quickly, charring half the wooden surface. Abe jumped to the floor as the flames landed. Neither dragon had a clear advantage, but Norbert seemed to have the upper hand. Unless Abe could fly, defeat seemed inevitable. Norbert looked down at Abe, his orange eyes filled with pride. Abe saw the taunt. He crouched low, growling. He kicked back his legs, suddenly sped up, and started running around Hagrid's hut. The white blur raced past the ground, boxes, windows, and cabinets. After the running start, he leaped, his sharp claws scratching the wall. He pushed off and launched himself at Norbert. No! Hagrid and Hermione yelled. Harry and Ron closed their eyes, afraid to watch. At that speed and with those claws, hitting Norbert would likely scar him for life. Norbert froze as the claws slashed at him, but being a dragon has its perks. Before his brain could react, his body reacted and narrowly avoided the blow. Abe landed hard and stumbled a few steps. Norbert flapped his wings, now with a touch more seriousness. He'd assumed he had it in the bag. His first dragon attack on a chubby, white creature wouldn't bring dishonor, but who'd have thought the other guy could attack like that? It was downright cheating. Too bad they were indoors. It limited Norbert's movement and gave Abe attack opportunities. Outside, Norbert's chances would be way better. You're something, Norbert, Hagrid sighed in relief, patting his chest. The giant relaxed a little. Abe's attack had shocked him, but that element of surprise only works once. Now that Norbert was on guard, that trick wouldn't work as well. Harry and Ron opened their eyes at Hagrid's sigh. Seeing the same scene, they felt a little uneasy. How'd that happen? Did Norbert take it head on? Ron wondered. That's one tough dragon. Thick skin. No, Hermione said, rolling her eyes. He dodged. Instinctively. Even more impressive, Harry praised. Abe's amazing too. Is he really a cub? Now's not the time. Hermione said, going to pick up Abe. If these two went at it again, Hagrid's hut might need rebuilding, but before Hermione could move, Norbert swooped down, shooting dragon flame. The flame singed the air, and Abe jumped back to escape the fire, ready to retaliate, but Norbert wasn't dumb. He'd just been ambushed, so he gained altitude. Abe's claw was inches from Norbert's wings when gravity took over. He flailed in the air before hitting the ground, clumsy, but totally cute. Norbert roared a couple of times, taunting Abe as he circled overhead. Abe, seething with rage, puffed up slightly on both sides of his body. Hagrid, are all magical animals like this? Hermione asked. You're right, this is a kid's fight, but this dragon's kind of a dork. Well. Hagrid paused, thinking. I've never seen this, so I should write it down. And, Hermione, I should remind you. Magical animals aren't like store merchandise. They're rare. Most wizards never see one. Baby magical animals are even rarer. So don't ask me everything. I don't know it all. Who else can I ask? Dumbledore. He's seen as many magical creatures as I have. He's even raised one. Hagrid stopped abruptly. Raised what? Harry asked. Can't say. It's private. Hagrid raised his umbrella. Tonight's been exciting. Let's separate these two. I'm going full strength this time. Harry and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Two baby magical animals were fighting in the room, one of them the most dangerous dragon in the wizarding world, but nobody worried because Hagrid was there. He might not be as powerful as Dumbledore, but he had a lot of experience with magical creatures, except for Abe. Hagrid smiled, waving his umbrella. A faint red light appeared on the tip. He stopped mid-spell and stared in astonishment. The red light faded. Incredible, Hagrid said. The only magical creature that can rival that is the noble unicorn. They followed Hagrid's gaze and gasped. Abe's clothes tore open on either side, revealing white wings. The white light glowed on his skin, highlighting his holy aura, showing his wings. Abe flew up. He hovered in the air, facing Norbert. Norbert looked confused, suddenly feeling uneasy. He spat out a mouthful of dragon breath, but Abe didn't dodge. He blocked it with his wings. The magic energy in his body formed a white circle, stopping the fire. Then Abe bared his teeth at Norbert, raised his claws, and struck. The two dragons collided in the air. Abe was stronger than Norbert in every way. Even without dragon breath, he had the upper hand. There was a constant crashing sound in Hagrid's hut as Aaron rushed in, panting. Chapter 56. Is this the end? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Draco was outside the window, watching the fight inside, totally clueless someone was behind him. Snap, a hand tapped Draco on the shoulder, making him jump. Before he could yell, Aaron covered his mouth. Chill, it's me. Aaron, you're here, Draco whispered. What's the sitch? Can you believe Hagrid actually has a Norwegian ridgeback? But what I didn't see coming was Abe with freaking wings. And the little dude's strong. He's going toe-to-toe with a baby dragon. Loose lips sink ships, Aaron muttered, face-palming. He blew his cover. He walked to the door, ready to kick it in. Hold up, Draco said, smirking. We've got a holy war of magical creature cubs going on in there. Let's wait for a winner before we interrupt. There's also a giant and 3 Gryffindors in there. My Abe's probably getting mugged, Aaron said, ignoring him, and kicked the door. Boom, the door rattled, dust falling. The noise put everyone on alert. Hagrid glanced at Norbert and Abe mid-battle, then shushed Harry and the others. Who's there? It's late. Whatever it is, come back tomorrow. Aaron Gaius. My pet's inside. I'd advise you to open the door, or I'm gonna get rough. We're toast, Hermione said, turning pale and collapsing into a chair. Harry and Ron looked anxious, mostly feeling guilty. They just snatched one, okay, magical beast cub. They're worth way more than cats, but it's only been, like, an hour. Busted already. Unbelievable. Stay cool. Don't say anything, Hagrid said, trying to reassure them. He might not know you're here. Harry, get the invisibility cloak. Get them both under it, I'll knock Norbert and Abe out. If he doesn't see you, we can hide this. Hagrid, you're kidding yourself. Hermione said with a wry smile. I don't know how we got ratted out, but Aaron wouldn't be here if he wasn't sure of something. Asterisk boom, star, the door shook again, making everyone jump. We have to try. The door's tough. They won't get in right away. Harry, quick. Right. Harry pulled out the cloak. Hagrid grabbed his wand. He hated the idea of hurting the baby magical creatures, but he had no choice. If they got caught, he and Harry and the others would be in deep trouble, so, these two need a nap. Then, a spell came from outside, freezing everyone. Alohomora, that the unlocking charm. No offensive power, but it works wonders at the right time, like now. The latch clicked open. A wave of dread washed over the hut. Aaron smirked outside and kicked the door open. He ignored the messy house and the stunned faces, focusing on the fighting dragons. His mouth twitched. Abe, in full combat mode, was beating the snot out of the Norwegian Ridgeback, throwing punches and kicks. His dark skin had purple hues, and even his wings were a little mismatched. He was basically bullying the kid with his size advantage. Abe, here boy, Aaron called, and Abe froze, kicked Norbert to the table, and dropped to the ground. His wings disappeared, the white scales faded, and his fangs and claws went back in, turning him into a cute, harmless creature. Abe glanced anxiously at Aaron and lowered his head, looking guilty. His owner warned him not to reveal his true form, and he forgot that less than 2 hours after leaving. Oh, please, Aaron said, rolling his eyes. He picked him up, checked him over, and sighed in relief. Woof. Abe pointed sadly at the burnt parts of his hat and clothes, then at the barely standing fire dragon, trying to say it wasn't on purpose. Aaron chuckled, then held out a new pet outfit. Put this on. I'll let it slide this time, but don't do it again. Got it? Abe nodded, stood on his hind legs, and put on the new clothes like a person. Draco, shut the door. Sure thing. Draco grinned and bolted the door. Seeing Draco Malfoy, things clicked. He must have followed them and ratted them out. No other way. Hopefully, he hadn't heard about the Philosopher's Stone and Snape. That would be a disaster. Aaron pulled up a chair, wiped off the dust, sat down, and crossed his legs, radiating authority. Guys, I'm pretty ticked off right now, but I'm still willing to hear you out. Explain. I'm giving you a chance. They looked at each other, no one speaking. Don't want to explain? Or are you saying you know you messed up and you're too embarrassed? Probably the latter, Draco said gleefully. That's Gryffindors for you. All bark and no bite. Aaron, please, let me explain, Hermione said, gritting her teeth. Actually. Hold it, don't speak, no matter the reason. Some things are inexcusable and whatever you say probably isn't true. I don't trust you anymore, Aaron said, sounding disappointed. Hermione's eyes welled up, but she fought back tears. She knew she'd done something wrong. Explain yourselves. Aaron said, looking at the other three. Let's hear some excuses. Silence. Don't want to tell me? Seriously? Letting a girl take the fall, huh? Real stand-up guys. So true, Draco said, clapping. I gotta give it to Hermione Granger. Even though she lied to Aaron, at least she's better than Potter and Weasley, who are happy to watch her carry the blame. What? Weasley got something to say. Draco sneered. Abe was already on the table when I got here. I don't know what went down before that, so, I'm curious about your plan. How did you kidnap Abe? Ron clenched his fists. Malfoy getting in his face made him see red, but he didn't know what to say. Was he supposed to admit they slipped Abe a sleeping potion? That would be humiliating. Harry, feeling ashamed, was secretly relieved. Draco hadn't heard the talk about the Sorcerer's Stone. Small mercies. Enough. I made them do it, Hagrid said, resigned. I couldn't resist seeing what kind of creature Abe was, so, anyway, I'm sorry. Really sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it, Aaron said coldly. Besides, you're apologizing because I caught you. So if I didn't know, you'd just pretend nothing happened. You should be glad Abe wasn't hurt. Otherwise, this wouldn't end so easily. Yeah, well. Draco said, then frowned. Aaron, you're gonna let them off the hook. That's too easy on them. They almost sold Abe. Actually, they did sell him, but there was a slight snag. I know what you're getting at, Aaron said, picking up Abe's paws and lifting him up. I don't want to just let it go, but this little guy's cover is blown. If this blows up, do you think we can hide who he is? Didn't think about that, but what kind of magical creature is he? You'll see when he grows up, but I can't say now, Aaron sighed, glancing at everyone in the room, his eyes lingering on the Norwegian Ridgeback. Best thing to do is sign a confidentiality agreement. Don't tell anyone about tonight. Hagrid perked up. This was the best solution. And it would save Norbert. Good idea. How about a Fidelius charm? Make Malfoy the secret keeper. Chapter 57 Written agreements may not be as effective as magic spells. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's not necessary, Aaron said calmly. How long can you really keep your dragon a secret? Dragons grow fast. In less than 2 weeks, it'll be several times bigger than it is now. I doubt your room will even hold it in a month, and by then, will you even be able to control it like you do now? Even if you can, it could burn down your cabin with one accidental sneeze, and then everyone at Hogwarts will know the forest keeper's been raising a dragon. I know I can't keep it forever, Hagrid said, frustrated. But I just can't bring myself to get rid of it like that. I just can't. That's your problem, not mine. It's pointless to use the Fidelius charm on a secret that's bound to get out. Aaron. Harry said, looking at him. It's a magical creature, too. It looked the same when school started as it does now. It hasn't changed much at all, but Abe grew a lot when he was fighting, and now he's back to normal size. What's your point? Hagrid seemed to understand, a glimmer of hope in his anxious eyes. You must know how to help magical creatures control their size. Can you do that for Norbert, the Norwegian Ridgeback? Ha! You've got quite an imagination. Abe's a magical creature. I seem to remember there being creatures that can control their own size. They're rare, but there are 1 or 2 mentioned in the books in the restricted section. Werewolves, for example, transform during the full moon. Besides, I don't know what makes you think you can ask me for this. Don't forget, you just kidnapped my pet. Sorry, I'm just stressed. Let's talk about that confidentiality agreement you mentioned. What's your plan? Simple. Aaron pulled a piece of parchment and a pen from his pocket and started writing. I learned Abe's a magical creature in February 1992, and I guarantee with my reputation that I won't reveal its identity. Hagrid picked up the parchment and looked at it, his expression puzzled. It was just plain paper, and the agreement was incredibly simple, almost too casual. That's it? Really? Yup. Just sign it. Aaron, isn't this too rushed? Draco frowned. Even if you don't use magical items, at least write up a proper agreement. What if they expose Abe? If they really want to, no spell will stop them, Aaron said meaningfully. There are plenty of wizards willing to die to break a contract. Besides, it's a one-sided agreement. They know about Abe, but we don't know anything about Norbert. If the dragons found out later, it's got nothing to do with us. Basically, as long as we don't rat them out about the dragon, they won't make enemies of us. He signed it first. You don't need to. Aaron waved his hand and looked at Hermione. Her pupils were slightly red, and she sat motionless in her chair. She didn't dare look up for over half a minute, afraid of seeing Aaron's disappointment. After signing, she felt empty, like she'd lost something. "Alright, see you guys tomorrow." Aaron put away the parchment expressionlessly, picked up Abe, and headed for the door. "I hope this is the first and last time. Take care." Draco followed Aaron, but after a few steps, he stopped, turned back, and gave the others in the hut a smug look. "What a great night. The moon's not that full, but I'm feeling fantastic." Malfoy. Ron clenched his fists. "Stop being a jerk." "Really? Where am I being a jerk? Please, tell me, Weasley. I'd appreciate it." "Alright, no use teasing them. Let's go." "Hold on." Draco grinned, then looked at Hermione. "Don't worry, I won't call you a mudblood anymore, but I'm still going to beat you on the final exam." Hermione just nodded weakly. "Draco, act like a pureblood wizard should," Aaron said, annoyed. Not wanting to stay there any longer, he opened the door and left. "Hey! Wait for me." Draco hurried after him, making sure to close the door behind him. After they left, the atmosphere in the hut became heavy. Harry, Ron, and Hagrid all looked at Hermione. They didn't have much to lose other than their pride, but Hermione was probably really upset. "Hermione." Harry wanted to comfort her but didn't know what to say. "Cry if you need to. Don't bottle it up," Hagrid said sadly. "We're all friends here. No one's gonna laugh." Hermione looked up, her red eyes filling with tears that streamed down her face. "Sorry," Ron said, feeling guilty. "This is all my fault. I pushed you into this." "It's not just you," Harry said, patting him on the shoulder. "I'm partly responsible, too. Didn't you say it was foolproof?" Hermione sobbed. "Now look what happened. I'll never be able to look him in the eye again." "Are you happy?" Harry and Ron looked down, ashamed. They'd promised it would work, but they hadn't planned on getting caught. They couldn't have gotten Hermione out of there, anyway. "It's all Malfoy's fault," Ron said, pouting. "If he hadn't snitched, everything would have been fine." "No," Hagrid interrupted. Before Aaron and Malfoy barged in, Abe and Norbert were fighting, and some of its clothes got burned. Even if Malfoy hadn't shown up, the secret would have come out tomorrow. "See?" Hermione said, upset. "I shouldn't have helped you. He trusted me so much, he left all the magical creatures with me to keep safe, and ugh. Hey, don't cry. Hermione. We messed up, and it won't happen again, I promise," Harry stammered, never having comforted a girl before. Ron was upset and didn't know what to do. He had experienced cheering up his sister, but this was different. A few candies and nice words wouldn't fix this. They'd really screwed up this time. Even he knew he'd let Hermione down, but he didn't know how to make it better. Hagrid also felt bad. He hadn't taken part, but he was the reason it happened. Like Aaron said, he was the mastermind. "Oh. Apologize." "Hagrid, you're confused," Ron said with a wry smile. "If apologizing fixed things, Harry and I would have done it a long time ago." "Not you two, Hermione." "Hermione hasn't apologized to Aaron yet. I think you should at least admit you messed up and tell him you're sorry." "But like you saw, he didn't give Hermione a chance to say anything," Harry said. "That's better than just sitting here and crying, right?" "Yeah, you're right." Hermione wiped her tears and tried to sound cheerful. "I need to catch up and apologize. Even if he yells at me, it's better than nothing. That's the spirit. Go on. It's best to do it before he gets back to his dorm," Hagrid said. "The sooner, the better." "I know." "Thanks, Hagrid," Hermione said, opening the door and hurrying out. "We're going too," Harry said, grabbing Ron. "Leave me out of it," Ron said stubbornly. "Draco's probably with Aaron. It'll be awkward if I go." "Ron, Hermione's got the guts to apologize. If we don't go, We're just cowards, Malfoy will look down on us even more. Hearing that, Ron gritted his teeth. Fine. Awkward it is, that they rushed to the door without another word, but after a few steps, they slowed down, their faces turning pale. Filch was waiting outside with a lantern, Mrs. Norris was at his feet, and even worse, Professor McGonagall was there looking disappointed. Chapter 58 10 times the score difference. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha! Some little fishes slipped the net. Filch sneered. But wouldn't you know it, I stumble into trouble myself. Good evening, Professor McGonagall said sternly. What are you all standing around for? Get over here, now. Harry and Ron felt like they were having the worst luck ever. Even though they'd gotten some info from the professor who designed the protections for the Philosopher's Stone, the losses seemed to outweigh the gains at this point. The two walked anxiously toward Professor McGonagall, immediately hanging their heads, then darting suspicious glances at Aaron and Draco. Filch usually patrolled the castle, so why was he suddenly at Hagrid's tonight, and with Professor McGonagall, no less? They knew this wasn't a coincidence, someone had definitely ratted them out. Don't give us those looks. Filch and Professor McGonagall caught us just a few steps outside the hut, Aaron said disdainfully. So, don't insult our integrity with your suspicions. It's all thanks to Mrs. Norris, Filch said proudly. She spotted Aaron, told me, and I got Professor McGonagall involved. Actually, I should have contacted Professor Snape. He is head of Slytherin, but his office is a bit of a trek, but as it turns out, I found the right person after all. Looks like there are 3 Gryffindors and 2 Slytherins, 3 versus 2, Professor McGonagall. I wonder how you plan to handle this. Detention. Detention for everyone, but first, I need to know why. Professor McGonagall looked at the 5 students in front of her, her expression unreadable. What are you doing out here at this hour? Don't you know students aren't allowed to wander the grounds at night without permission? Professor, let me explain. Draco sneered, glancing at Harry and the others. He stepped forward. We were up late, yes, but we had a good reason. Of course, I'm talking about Aaron and me, not Potter, Weasley, and Granger. Trying to separate yourselves from the group? Professor McGonagall said. Don't even think about it. Whatever the reason, you're not escaping the detention you deserve. The corner of Draco's mouth twitched. He caught the half-smirks on Harry, Ron, and Hermione's faces and couldn't help but feel irritated. Professor, it's like this. Tonight, Crabbe, Goyle, and I were heading back to the common room when we happened to see 3 shadowy figures. We were just curious, so we decided to take a look. Of course, we respect the school rules and were planning to return to the dorm before curfew. Get to the point, Malfoy, and drop the pretense. It's not exactly honorable to sneak around following people. Professor, I admit what I did was rude, but I don't regret it, Draco said indifferently. He wasn't playing a minor role tonight. Even if he wasn't the protagonist, he was the key to pushing the story forward. Although he was caught at the end, it was no big deal. He and Aaron might not avoid punishment, but Harry and his team's punishment would definitely be worse. Compared to that, he felt a lot better. We quietly followed them to Hagrid's hut and saw. Harry and the others were planning to give Aaron's pet to Hagrid. What? Professor McGonagall frowned. Is what Mr. Malfoy saying true? That the 3 Gryffindors lowered their heads and remained silent, their silence an admission of guilt. That's right, Professor McGonagall. Aaron is my best friend, and I couldn't stand him being taken advantage of, so I sent Crabbe and Goyle back to inform him. As for what happened after that, I'll leave it there. I am very disappointed in you. Points will be deducted. 50 points will be deducted. Professor McGonagall said angrily. You've gone too far. 50 points, the 3 of them gaped, the number hitting them like a ton of bricks. 50 points. Evenly divided, that was around 16 or 17 points each. Hermione might be able to make up for it with extra work, excluding Snape's potions class, of course, but Harry and Ron were a wreck. It was hard enough to avoid losing points, let alone try to fill a hole this big. 50 points for each of you, Professor McGonagall said calmly. Each. Ron stuttered. He and Harry exchanged glances, both seeing the mountain of debt they were carrying. Draco looked at the three of them with a triumphant grin, practically radiating joy. Why are you laughing? When I say everyone, I mean you and Aaron, too. The smile vanished from Draco's face. I'm sorry, Professor, I must have misheard. Did you say we're losing 50 points as well? Yes, you also violated school rules. This is to make sure you don't do it again. But this. No need for explanations, Draco. Aaron patted Abe, who was clinging to him. I'll cover your 50 points, it's just 100. We can earn that back by the end of the semester. It's not about the points, it's about fairness, Draco said unhappily. I have no problem with Professor McGonagall punishing us, but why should the punishment be the same as theirs? I don't accept it. The three of them suffered nothing except the same penalty as us, but Abe was almost injured, and that's enough, drop it, Aaron interrupted loudly. Professor McGonagall paused, seemed to understand something, and turned to look at Aaron. Is that all right? It's fine. I was just a little scared. Scared? Are you sure that's all it was? Yes, I'm sure. Aaron's tone was firm. Professor McGonagall turned to Draco. If you don't explain it to him, you might lose a few more points. It's no use, Draco shook his head. Just consider it our bad luck this time, right then. Filch, keep an eye on them while I go have a chat with Hagrid to get the full story. Professor McGonagall said meaningfully, if you won't tell me, someone else will. Hagrid is an honest man, he won't lie. Seeing Professor McGonagall heading toward the hut, Harry and the others panicked. There was a fire dragon in there. If it were discovered, Hagrid would be heartbroken. Wait, Professor McGonagall, how about I explain? Harry blurted out, stopping her in her tracks. He didn't really know what he was going to say, but it was crucial to stop Professor McGonagall first. He'd figure out the rest later. Then tell me. I'm listening. Well, the thing is. Harry stammered, unable to form a complete sentence. Professor McGonagall clearly saw his evasiveness and sighed. I'd better go talk to Hagrid, then. This time, no one blocked her way because they all knew she wouldn't give up until she got the truth. Aaron, is this going to be okay? Draco asked, worried. He didn't care about Norbert being discovered, but he couldn't be discovered today. What if they were implicated and Abe's true nature was revealed? Hagrid and the others had signed a confidentiality agreement, but in his opinion, that piece of paper was worthless, especially now. Don't worry, it'll be fine, Aaron said calmly. Everyone knows it's better to ignore a problem than to make it worse. Hagrid is naive, not stupid, he'll follow along. I hope so. Soon, Professor McGonagall's booming voice echoed from the hut. How could you keep a dragon at the school? How dare you, Hagrid? He's keeping a dragon? Filch asked, surprised. I know he likes all kinds of magical creatures, but dragons are a bit much, aren't they? We just found out, Aaron said. No one suspected Hagrid would be so reckless. Professor McGonagall emerged from the hut, exhaled deeply, and walked over to the group. What's going to happen to Hagrid? Harry asked anxiously. He'll definitely be expelled, Draco said gleefully. Expulsion is unlikely. Fortunately, the dragon is still newly hatched and doesn't pose a serious threat to the school's safety. If it were older, nobody could help him, but he definitely can't keep it. I'll discuss with Dumbledore where the dragon can be sent. Professor McGonagall said tiredly. Aaron, Abe, are you sure you're all right? That I want you to be completely honest with me, with no worries. I'm really okay. I've watched Abe grow up. He's one of the few family members I have. I would never let him suffer any injustice. It's just a pity that the clothes my mother specially made for him before school started got scorched by the dragon's flames. Abe even put on a pitiful act, raised his two claws to his head, and pulled out a hat from beneath his own, revealing traces of burns from dragon fire. A misty sheen appeared in his big eyes, instantly sparking Professor McGonagall's sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Aaron, as head of Gryffindor, I failed to keep a close watch on things. Abe was almost injured, and I have to take some of the blame." Professor McGonagall said earnestly, "I am here to apologize to you. It was my negligence. I didn't realize things were much more dangerous than I thought. Detention is unavoidable, that's the punishment for violating school rules. But you and Draco can have fewer points deducted. Draco loses 10 points, and you will lose 5. Chapter 59. This year's Academy Cup is stable. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Professor, that's not fair. Ron blurted out, hesitant. 1 minute, he was practically dancing over everyone else's problems, and the next, the Slytherin's punishments got cut by more than half. That huge difference just didn't sit right with him. You've got the nerve to say that? This whole mess is your doing, the three of you. I've never been so embarrassed by Gryffindors, Professor McGonagall snapped, clearly furious. You stole Aaron's pet and almost got it hurt. If the others hadn't broken school rules too, you'd be taking the full blame. If you don't think this is fair, I can call your father. I'm sure Mr. Arthur Weasley would love to hear about this. No need, Professor. The punishment is perfectly reasonable. I accept it, wholeheartedly, Ron said quickly, looking genuinely worried. The Weasleys were a tight-knit family, not big on rules. They might be a little strapped for cash, but they were happy. But there was one big catch: don't screw up, especially not in ways you couldn't explain. If his dad, Arthur, found out what went down tonight, he'd probably get grounded on top of the school punishment. But if his mom, Molly, caught wind of it, he'd be getting yelled at 5 times over, easy. He'd be in the doghouse for months. Humph. Filch, these kids are all yours. Business is business. Understood, Professor McGonagall, Filch cackled, eyeing the group with a nasty gleam. You'll think twice before breaking school rules again. But you should be thankful the punishments these days aren't what they used to be. Professor McGonagall, could I take Abe back before detention starts? He needs to rest. Of course. That's the least we can do. Professor McGonagall looked at Abe, her expression softening. She couldn't imagine how such a small, sweet thing had faced down a dragon. He must have been scared out of his wits. Your detentions start tomorrow night. Mr. Filch will be waiting for you in the front hall at 11 o'clock. You have a day to rest up and figure out how to explain yourselves to your houses. With a disappointed look at the 3 Gryffindors, Professor McGonagall turned and left. Let's go, Aaron sighed, heading towards the castle with Abe in his arms. Hermione started to say something, then stopped, biting her lip. See you tomorrow, everyone. 15 points compared to 150. 10 times the difference. TSK, TSK, TSK. I can already see you guys as pariahs. Hearing Draco's taunt, the 3 of them gritted their teeth, furious and uneasy. Slytherin was way ahead in the House Cup race. Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff were far behind, but Gryffindor still had a shot at catching up. Except what they'd done tonight had just wiped that chance out. Back in the dorm, Aaron sat on his bed and set Abe down facing him, looking serious. It's okay that we got caught this time, but we need to learn from this. If you get messed with, you come tell me, and I'll take care of it. But don't just go off on your own. Got it? Abe nodded eagerly, then took off his coat, showing the singed clothes underneath. Oh, man. Let's get you changed. I know it stinks, but we gotta move on. Abe put down his clothes and started digging in the pockets, pulling out candy, chocolate, lollipops, bread, apples, and jerky. And get this, there were a bunch of gold galleons and silver coins in there, too. After a moment, Aaron looked at the pile of coins, then at the mountain of snacks on his bed, a pile twice Abe's size, and just shook his head. He grabbed an apple and took a bite. Not bad. Confiscated. Woo! Abe pointed at the snacks, tears welling up. He'd saved them, being extra cute to get them one by one. Still not happy? You got caught tonight. This is your punishment. Abe ignored him and lunged for his snack pile, clutching it possessively. But when he met Aaron's gaze, he looked guilty and reluctantly pushed about half of the pile towards Aaron. I'll give you half, and I'll keep the other half. No more. Aaron slowly shook his head. Abe's eyes grew wider. He dug his claws in and split off another half of his half. Really, that was all he could give? Aaron burst out laughing, patting Abe's head. I just wanted an apple. Look, I scared you. Abe was stunned for a second, then started crying for joy, punching Aaron's chest with his little dragon fist. Okay, behave yourself from now on, or I'm taking all your treasure, Aaron said sternly. Abe stood up straight, quickly changed into a new set of clothes with a little magic, and stuffed the snacks and coins back in his pockets. All set. He felt safe again before the smile faded. Aaron picked him up and put him in his bed. Sleep tight. You're coming to detention with me tomorrow. Aaron covered Abe with a blanket and lay down, looking at the burn marks on Abe's clothes. He felt bad for his dragon. Abe might have roughed up Norbert, but he only had an advantage because of his age. Without his dragon breath, he couldn't do much damage. System, open Abe's stat panel. OK, pet, Abe, species, dragon, saint, unawakened, magic energy, 304, slowly increasing, endless potential, but currently very weak. Innate ability, flight. Ugh, Aaron sighed. Only 304 points of magic energy. At this rate, it would take 196 days, over half a year, to evolve. By then, Norbert would be 10 times bigger and could probably crush Abe with one swipe. No choice. Time to add some points and trigger the evolution. He needs that fire-breathing ability. Aaron hesitated, then generously invested 190 points, raising Abe's magic energy to 494, leaving 6 as a buffer. He didn't want to use all the points at once. They were at Hogwarts. What if Abe made a lot of noise during the evolution? Everyone would know he had a magical creature, and he didn't want to be in the spotlight. The next day after class, the students stopped when they passed the giant hourglasses that showed the house scores. Some even rubbed their eyes in disbelief. The scores were way different from yesterday, but when they looked again, they saw they weren't mistaken. First place, Slytherin, 462 points, 15 points lower than yesterday's 477. A normal fluctuation. Second place, Ravenclaw, 406 points, third place, Hufflepuff, 332 points. No change. But fourth place, Gryffindor, had 299 points, 150 points lower than yesterday's 449. Before the students could figure out what was going on, news spread about Slytherin. Draco admitted in the Great Hall that he had lost 10 points, Aaron 5 points, but Harry, Ron, and Hermione had each lost 50 points. He didn't give any details, but no one needed them. They didn't doubt the fairness of it. Professor McGonagall, the head of Gryffindor, had taken those points. She wouldn't take off 150 points just for laughs. That meant Harry and the others had done something bad, really bad. As soon as the news spread, Harry, Ron, and Hermione were outcasts. Everyone knew that Gryffindor had no chance of catching Slytherin. The same was true for Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff. They weren't excited to move up a spot because Slytherin was still in first. They had hoped that Gryffindor could defeat Slytherin. But now, those hopes were crushed. Chapter 60. Even if you add insult to injury, no one can be found. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Unlike Harry and the others, Aaron and Draco didn't catch any flack when the points were docked. Instead, they were practically hailed as heroes in Slytherin. Slytherin House might not have known why they lost 15 points, but that was chump change for two students as sharp as them. They could earn that back in a couple of classes, easy, especially Aaron. Teachers practically threw extra points at him in every class. And Draco? He'd already racked up way more than 15 points for Slytherin's House Cup this semester alone, besides, trading 15 points for Gryffindor's 150. Total steal, sure, Slytherin was sitting pretty at number 1, but Gryffindor, clinging to number 2, was always nipping at their heels. It was a little unnerving, always worrying about getting caught, but now, no sweat. The point difference was massive. Barring a miracle, Gryffindor was guaranteed last place. Every Slytherin felt like the House Cup was in the bag. Their stress melted away, and some students even started celebrating early. "You really didn't have to do that," Aaron said to a beaming Draco, shaking his head. "We got points taken away too, remember? It's not exactly a victory." "Okay, fine. I'll admit I'm enjoying this a little. Everyone was going to find out anyway. I'm just getting ahead of the curve. Those 3 caused this mess. We have to keep it under wraps for reasons, but I wasn't just going to let it slide, so, I saw a chance to make their lives a little harder, and bam. This happened." Draco's lips curled up. Honestly, Harry, Ron, and Hermione should get medals from Slytherin, 150 points. With that kind of swing, Gryffindor's definitely going down. Aaron, wanna go find them? Find them? Why? I'd suggest you catch some Z's. You've got detention tonight. Aaron, listen, sleep only makes detention slightly less boring. It's no big deal, but seeing the looks on Harry's faces. Priceless. Draco said, excited at the thought of Gryffindor's golden boy getting reamed. Seeing Aaron's lack of interest, he continued, I get it, you don't like kicking people when they're down. But they messed up this time. Even if you don't care about yourself, think about Abe. If he wasn't so tough, I'd have been toast with Norbert last night. Well. Aaron hesitated, glancing at the yawning dragon sprawled on the table. The little guy was merciless. Alright, let's go. You've got a point. We can't let some people get away with everything, but where are they even hiding? Don't need to search, Draco said with confidence. Their bad rep's gone through the roof. They're like magnets for attention, should be easy to track. True. As they left the common room, they bumped into another Slytherin. Millicent, you seen Harry Potter around? Draco asked. Last I saw, they were in the library, but that was probably a while ago. Everyone except Slytherin looks like they want to murder them. See? Draco grinned at Aaron. Told you they'd be public enemy number 1. Yeah, it's pretty rough, Millicent said. But they earned it. No one's lost that many points in years. They don't deserve sympathy. Oh, I know. McGonagall docked those points herself, so it's totally fair. What did they even do last night? Spill the tea, I promise not to tell a soul. Can't do that, Draco said, puffing up his chest. Can't tell you why they lost so many points because. Ahem. Aaron coughed, shooting Draco a look. Kidding. It's a secret. Got it. Millicent nodded knowingly, not pressing any further. After Millicent went into the common room, Aaron gave Draco a pointed look. What were you about to say? Hey, don't get me wrong, I know the line. I was just going to say they stole students' property, that's all. Abe's kinda your property, so that's not exactly wrong. Technically, yeah, but keep your mouth shut. Sometimes, not being able to hold your tongue is worse than any spell. Got it. They checked the library but no luck, so they asked a classmate and headed to the Great Hall. Turns out Harry and his buddies had already moved on from there. Seriously? Can't they stay put for 5 minutes? Draco grumbled. He was ready to rub it in. It was low, sure, but those 3 had it coming. Ron, well, the Weasley-Malfoy feud was practically ancient. Harry embarrassed him big time at the beginning of the year, and always ignored him. And Hermione? She betrayed her friend's trust, so she deserved some teasing. But these guys were slippery as eels. Hard to pile on when you couldn't even find them. What did you expect? They're getting the stink eye from everyone. They'd die of shame if they stayed in one place. If I were them, I'd hide where no one could find me, or somewhere with 0 people. Gryffindor common room? Draco mused. Hiding in the dorm with the door locked is a pretty solid move, but they can't hide forever. There's always Hagrid's hut, Aaron suggested. Compared to the Gryffindor common room, which is all Gryffindor, Hagrid's is a better choice. In that case, your idea might have to wait. There's a giant protecting them, after all. Nah, no way. Would they even dare go there? The whole Norwegian Ridgeback thing isn't exactly wrapped up, right? They're afraid of running into Dumbledore and getting lectured again. Draco snorted, knowing Harry and the others. They were probably holed up in Hagrid's hut, no judging eyes, no snarky comments, just pure refuge. Let's go back, wherever they are hiding now. They have to gather in the hallway at night. Draco nodded, still a little bummed. Today was definitely their low point, but tomorrow things would be different. After a good night's sleep, people would start to move on, the drama would fade, and things would get easier for them. It was after 10 at night. Aaron and Draco left the common room, heading for the hallway. Before they even got close, they heard Harry Potter's voice. Wood doesn't want me to quit the Quidditch team. He still wants me to win the game. But as a Seeker, they just call me Seeker. It feels off. It's fine. Everyone will forget about these things in a few weeks. Ron comforted. Fred and George often get points taken away. They must not have been deducted 50 points at once. Well. That's not true. Ron said angrily. Hermione and I are in a slightly better situation. After all, our reputation is not as big as yours, but no one wants to talk to us now. Found them. Draco sauntered over with a grin. Thought you'd been expelled. I looked everywhere for you today. Malfoy, are you here to kick us while we're down? Harry snapped. Misunderstanding. Total misunderstanding. Draco walked up to Harry, clapping him on the back. I just wanted to say thanks. You did Slytherin a solid 150 points. Who knows how long that'd take us to earn. Potter, Granger, Weasley, if you ever want to transfer to Slytherin, hit me up. I'll pull some strings. I'll even beg my dad to talk to Dumbledore. You're unbelievably cruel. Ron shouted and started storming towards Draco to duel him. Enough. Aaron barked. Do you want another point deduction or something? Don't forget, Filch is coming around here soon.